And we are live. Welcome to the RedBlue podcast, season 6, episode 1. How are you, SuperBald?
I'm good. I'm good. Bit
That's
tired, but I'm good.
I feel
And
I
I'm
feel
glad
you.
to be here. My first show ever.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for coming, man. I'm glad we kind of connected there. How are you, Gray?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to talk about some good movies. It's not like a torture fest this time. So good times. It's a happy day.
When is the torture fest?
I don't know. It was some of the combinations you put together when we were doing like 5 movies and like 2 shows, and I hated all of them. This is great. I don't know. I'm doing good. How are you feeling today, Multi?
I'm doing great. Um, I liked both movies. Thus far, I've seen 6 of the movies we will cover this season, and I like pretty much anything I've seen so far. So that's a great start for the season. Um, yeah. Um, Welcome back. I'm glad to have the both of you on. And today we talked about falling down and true romance. And with that, I think it's the perfect moment to go with the intro. If I can find the intro, the right intro, the right one. There we go.
You're smooth.
Not funny. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Not funny.
The intro did cut you off. What were you about to say?
I was just gonna say at least you smoothly through to the intro, and nobody was aware of it. Good job there.
That's amazing. Anyway, um, I will let you go first on Falling Down. Why did you choose that first movie?
Um, Sorry, my dogs seem to be freaking out right now. Multi, you've never seen this. What are your thoughts on it? I think it might be fun if you, as a first-time viewer, kind of talked about
Okay, well, you're right. I haven't seen that before, and I was surprised. I liked it. So I've heard Critical Drinker talk about that. So I kind of knew the movie existed, but I didn't see it prior. So I was like, okay, uh, Gray suggested it. And last time we covered one of your movies, well, actually, the last few times, you said Last Night in Soul was you that chose it. I adored it. Um, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was also
it.
great. So I was like, that's a great movie. I think I will like it. Um,
We had
so
some really bad ones in the last season, so I tried to pepper in some real good ones. So glad you ended up liking this one. I kind of thought you'd hate it, but hey, good times.
why did you thought I would hate it?
Um, it has a similar feeling to a lot of the kind of vigilante movies, if you will, but I don't know. This one just kind of has a different take on it. But so you said that you'd seen Drinker cover it. I think he did like 2 different videos on it. I think he did one a few years ago and then one a couple months ago. Did you happen to catch the recent one that he did? Because I guess he felt like he failed on his first kind of review or analysis of it, so he redid it a couple months ago.
I did see the most recent one. So
Okay,
yeah.
fair
That's
enough.
surprising because usually I don't really watch often Critical Drinker. Like now I only watch what he recommends. So I can see, okay, maybe that could be a movie I could enjoy, but that's like I don't really watch his reviews anymore. I think yeah. I won't go too
Well,
far
fair
there,
enough.
but
So it sounds like you were a little primed to like it, though, if you had kind of watched an analysis before you'd even seen it. But fair enough.
yeah.
I'm glad you
But
enjoyed it.
I have fish memory as well. So I remember seeing the video, but I don't remember the content of the video. That's the thing. So, with this movie, I only had one issue at some point. And it's very, very nitpicky. I will just pull up my notes. Um, I admit I was able to suspend disbelief to a lot of odds meeting, but when the lead meets the kid that knew how to use the bazooka, it felt contrived and convenient. And that was mainly for like a joke. Oh, look, I will blow up that truck. I was like, man, how could a kid know how a bazooka works? You know, like maybe a pistol or another gun, but bazooka, like, nah.
Well, in his defense, all you have to do is pull a pin, extend the tube, and then point it at what you like, and then hit the trigger. Like, it's not that hard. I think that is pretty believable, but fair enough.
Like, he didn't know how to, and yeah, I guess now he does. That was my only issue. I was hooked from start to finish. That's the very surprising part because I'm not always into older movies. Sometimes I do struggle with older movies. When they're older than me, man, this is what happens. um, so I will say that the main character was haunted by the past. The detective was haunted by the future. That was kind of interesting to see these two ideas colliding. The main character and the Nazi being the same was well depicted. The main character paying for breakfast and or lunch shows how he values fair treatment. The lead insisting about having a breakfast was a way to say he is motivated, and the breakfast did represent fair treatment in an unfair world. The main character realizing how weird is it is to be familiar with strangers just because they are in the restaurant. Well shown how the ex-wife is worried about the main character temper. The lead feeling world's unfair was relatable and believable. So I think I did grasp the theme of the movie kind of well. It's about fairness and such. Do you want to expand on that, Dre, or SuperBald?
Well, I kind of disagree with your analysis on all of these, like the breakfast equaling fairness. I don't know. I didn't get that it equals fairness. It's an interesting take, and then also saying that the neo-Nazi guy is the same as him as defense. It is White Boy Day, Charles. You can join us if you want. But yeah. I don't know. I just got it a completely different interpretation of it, but it is interesting to hear yours. Yeah. I guess I'd kind of like to gather my thoughts on it a bit, but I definitely experienced this movie in a different way than you did.
That's interesting. SuperBald, what was your experience with the teams and such of Falling Down?
Okay, before we start, I just noticed two things. That we can see the massive tear in the fabric in my couch, which I which I didn't notice. And before I moved, it looked like I had a horn coming out of my.
Well, I didn't notice the tear, but
Yep.
the horn's kind of awesome.
Yeah, I'll have to move that sculpture for future videos. But I found some of the themes, like even though this movie is 30 years old, some things in it are still very relatable. Like the main character basically being laid off because his job has become redundant. That's something that's very relatable. It's happened to me. It's happened to a lot of people. Yeah, I rewatched actually both movies yesterday back to back. I hadn't seen them in years, and I'm actually still kind of digesting them. Like, because I had first seen Falling Down when it came out when I was like maybe 12 or something. I caught it on cable, and at that age, there's a lot of stuff I just didn't get. But yeah, I'm not sure we're meant to sympathize with him though, because he is in the wrong about a lot of things. I mean, yeah, the character is right about a lot of stuff. How basically everybody in society is getting screwed over one way or another. But I don't think we're meant to sympathize with him because he is a. How can I say it? Well, he's a dangerous person, obviously. Like his wife has a restraining order against him because he's prone to violence. His own mother's terrified of him. Yeah, that's all I have to say at the moment.
Okay, so hi, Charles. How
Hi.
are you, Charles?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing great.
You're
Welcome,
doing better
welcome.
now, sir. Charles, have you happened to see Falling Down in a minute?
It's been a hot second, but I've seen it quite a few times.
That's
My wife
amazing.
actually has a video on it on my channel. It's a couple of years old
Oh,
at this
hell
point.
yeah. I did not realize that. I got to check that out, man.
Same.
Yeah, I found her. Now I'm blanking on the one. We were just talking about it. Not Bloody
Black
what's
Christmas.
that? Black Christmas. I really enjoyed her analysis on that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
She's the talented one in the outfit, that's for sure. So what? Just TLDR me on what you guys have brought up about Falling Down already.
So Multi kind of went through some of his analysis, kind of what he thought some of the themes were. And he was saying that he sees it as a lot of themes on fairness, and he saw kind of the breakfast, the whammy burger scene as defense is trying to get fairness out of this. He feels like it's unfair treatment. And then he also pointed out with the Nazi guy that he saw that he was the same as defense. And I don't know. I didn't really go into it, but I kind of disagree with both of those really strongly. But that's kind of the extent of where we've gone, other than SuperBald did point out that it just seems so I don't know, what would you call it, of ripped from the headlines today. Like so many things from 30 years ago just seem so in your face, like it could have been a new one from today.
Right.
There's so many themes that just seem so relevant for such an old flick.
Yeah, I think what what I would have taken from that movie is the fact that no matter how much you yourself are progressing in society, you're not caught up with what other people are doing, and it's societal norms are a bit of an issue because, like I don't think they ever covered why he was lying about his job, because like he was just driving to where, right? He was stuck in traffic to a non-existent job.
Yeah. I mean, he was bringing his briefcase, but he had a bunch of like want ads circled. So it did seem like maybe he was trying to get a new job. But yeah, there is definitely this air of, I don't know, lying to himself or lying to the others that, he was pretending to go somewhere.
Yeah, maybe he was in denial. Maybe he was like, if I go there, I can have it back or something like that. I feel like that could be in character because he kind of fought for his family back, even if the family was like, stay away, we don't want you, we don't need you.
Yeah, there's a few things where things are moving faster than, well, certainly defense's character is concerned. Step away from me, and as I hear, I'll refresh myself.
So this is my favorite Joel Schumacher film.
I would agree
Joel
with that.
Schumacher is not known for this type of film, so to speak. Like in the 80s, he did St. Elmo's Fire, and now I'm forgetting the big one.
Lost Boys?
Lost Boys. Thank you. But then he kind of went after this to, well, he did The Client, which is, it's pretty famous. But right after that, he went Batman Forever, and then Batman and Robin. And that's kind of what he's known for, is like the bat nipple suit. But
that's what I knew him
things
from.
like this. Yeah, I mean, The Client is all right. I think now I forget whose novel that was, but I don't know. That one,
John Grisham.
Thank you. I thought it was Grisham, and then I thought I would just be pulling the wrong name out, and it's like, I'll refrain. But thank you. And A Time to Kill wasn't horrible, but yeah, sadly, he's kind of known more for the Batman Forevers and the Batman and Robins. But this one, man, just the opening shot of it is just so amazing. What they're able to do with this super uncomfortable close-up of like Michael Douglas's mouth and sweaty lips, and then it kind of just circles around. It's such an amazing shot. And then just the warmth that the cinematography is giving through like the color, just it looks like everything is run down in LA, but it just looks hot, like in a different way than usual. Yeah, it's just so many yellows. But it looks hot, but in a different way than like 12 Angry Men. Just, I don't know. It feels very uncomfortable, everything. And just then from where he, just has had enough with this traffic jam. Like, who has not been there where like the AC isn't working and it's just hot as hell. And there's just not like, I've had the fantasy of just walking away from my car. Like, just, okay, I'm done with this. It's kind of interesting that is the one thing that pushes him over the edge. Later on through the narrative, we realize that, he's had many other things happen to him, and that he has been kind of putting up with a lot. But man, just that opening, it gets me. And then from there, moving on to the store where it's almost as if he keeps kind of exchanging different items, upgrading kind of like a video game or whatever, so that you can then take on the next boss. I love that aspect of this and like the exchange that kind of just keeps going on. But that whole exchange with the Korean store clerk where he kind of wants, throwback prices to a better time. Just themes like that seem so
$12.
so prevalent and like ripped from today's headlines. It doesn't feel like this is 31 years ago, 30 whatever years ago. But man, like I understand his motivation. I can empathize with him, but I don't know. I've seen a bunch of different analysis on this, whether we're supposed to actually see defense as like justifiable or anything. I don't know. Do any of you guys see him as justifiable in all of his actions?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Not really. Like, you can understand, but you cannot agree, I think.
He's sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
He strikes me as somebody who has a very ordered and structured way of seeing things, very narrow. Like the scene where like the cop goes into see his bedroom and everything is super tidy. This is somebody who has a very structured and narrow way of viewing things. Anything that falls outside of that pisses him off.
Well, he's a bit of a hypocrite then, no?
Yeah.
Like, he has that outrage about
that store.
Yeah, I mean, he has the outrage about being 3 minutes late for lunch, or
that's true. I never saw
that.
To
order off the lunch menu.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's true. I never thought of that.
And that was kind of why I didn't see fairness as like a theme to it. I don't think he's necessarily looking for fairness. It's kind of like he's looking for a better world, but I don't know that it's necessarily like a realistic world, because he's like taking it out on the Korean store clerk, where I'm sure that dude isn't just price gouging. I'm sure he kind of has to charge higher prices than he would want to. It does suck that, he's looking for change for the phone, and like the store clerk can't help him out. Like, you're only going to get 15 cents back. You can't make a call with that. It does seem like there could have been a little bit more help there, but there was possibly a language barrier. So I don't know. That one I could kind of see as like fairness, but like just showing up 3 minutes late, I don't know that's fair. It's just annoying as shit. I mean, who hasn't been there where you miss something by just like a couple minutes and like, sorry, the policy is it has to be by this time. Like, I don't know. I've missed contests because I showed up like 1 minute late, and apparently the contest cut off like right at 11, but I was there at 11:01. So yeah, it didn't work out for my band. So I don't know. I've definitely felt this frustration, but I didn't think, what I got to do is pull out like, some Mac 10 or something and, make them accept my application or whatever. It's interesting, but I didn't kind of see this as fairness. I just kind of, in ways I could see fairness, but that wasn't the kind of the theme that I got from him, that he was just looking for what's fair. I think he just wanted it kind of his way, but maybe I'm wrong. Just the construction scene alone, where he asked the guy, like, well, what's wrong with the road? And he's like, I don't know. He's like, it was fine 2 days ago. You're telling me it got ruined in 2 days. And he's like, it's some with the sewer. And then he basically like, brandishes his gun. And then he's like, so what's wrong with it? And he's like, nothing. It doesn't seem like he's actually looking for the truth. It seems like he wants people to kind of agree with him. So I don't know if it's fairness that I'm getting from him, but he definitely wants it his way.
He's got main character syndrome, because by the end he's like shocked. He's like, wait, I'm the bad guy? And it's like, yeah. Your wife has custody and you're not allowed to see your kid. I'd like to know what their side of the story is, please. So,
You
yeah,
added
there's
people
so
lives
many-
as well.
right.
Yeah. There's just so many subtle things that this movie is doing, which I don't feel like Schumacher does in a lot of his other films. And granted, he didn't write this. It was Abbey Rose Smith. So I'm not familiar with that writer, but I don't know, just everything like with Defense's father. We never really see him or meet him or anything like that, but we see that he has a purple heart on the wall. And, you can kind of assume that perhaps he learned his anger issues possibly from somebody who went through the trauma of, being in a war, perhaps somebody who was traumatized by that. But we do kind of see that he's unwilling to see his own, treatment of his wife and his daughter, like how much he's scaring them when he's watching the tapes. There's just so many kind of subtle things that it's doing. I don't usually get that from a Schumacher film. And I don't know, there are some things kind of left up to interpretation. Like with Pendergrass, the cop, kind of what happened with his kid. I didn't see it before, but I think it was Drinker's analysis of it that kind of pointed out where he mentions like his wife never really wanted a kid. And, it's sad that he had a kid who was 2 when they suddenly died of SIDS, I guess, sudden infant death syndrome. I'm not sure if that still affects like a toddler, but man, it just kind of, with some of the lines that he says where he's like, yeah, my wife never really wanted a kid. She was never meant for that. She sacrificed her figure for this kid. It just kind of makes you wonder, I don't know, was there more to the story of how he lost his kid? Like, was the wife possibly involved in this thing that she never wanted? I don't know. It just adds like so many layers to this that just aren't spelled out. It kind of challenges you to figure out some of these mysteries. I really like that about this film. I don't get that from a lot of Schumacher ones.
I think it's not that common in filmmaker in general or director. Well, maybe I don't know enough of that for the matter, but I think it's kind of unique to that movie, I'd say. Maybe I go too far. I read the room. Maybe I go too far.
Sorry, I was just coughing. I don't think so. A lot of films aren't really meant to kind of challenge you, but
What?
yeah, this one, it definitely isn't simple. It's not just a popcorn movie, and maybe that's one of the reasons why it still feels kind of prescient today, like 31 years later.
I think the problem with people that like see this movie a different way are like the same type of people that think Archie Bunker is the hero of All in the Family, where like he is deplorable. He is the bad guy.
He's the main character though. Like, I guess
Like
a lot of people see
is
the main as, they have to be the protagonist. And I just don't think we see that here, but
well, the rest of the characters are there to let him. I mean, again, I'll go back to the last line. The "I'm a bad guy." Like, it took you this long to go through that many situations to realize you're not the good guy. Like, a lot of the things that he did, just because it's right to him, doesn't make it right. I mean, there's plenty of morally ambiguous characters that we've had that have some sort of like Dexter the vigilante angle to it, where it's like he's doing something bad, but you as a human you understand and you don't exactly condone it, but you get it. I think that's a very similar thing here. I don't know if you watched Joe yet, Gray, but there's this thing where people in fiction say things that aren't exactly socially acceptable, that you're kind of rooting it on, and in a world where it's just fiction, and yeah, okay, that's fun, but it is sort of there to challenge the way you see things in society. And it's this is a society, we need to deal with each other.
Yeah, that's a good point there.
I'm kind of looking forward to
half-baked
extending my vigilante film fest or whatever with Joe. I'll see that one tonight, but yeah, I got to check that one out. Love me some Peter Boyle. Yeah, like all the actors in this one just blow it out of the park. Like, I love every single one, from I don't know. Now I can't even remember his name, but the annoying cop who ends up getting punched out. I love just how annoying he is. He's the partner of Sandra. I can't remember his name. I'm looking through the thing and don't see it. I think it's D.W. Moffat plays the one who gets punched out. But like, I love him as just the guy who fills Pendergrass's desk full of sand. He just seems like that jerk that you work with, where it's like, okay, he's pulling the pranks and he's just kind of, he's an ass. Just everyone kind of reads as what they're supposed to be in this. And I love Barbara Hershey's her whole character as the mother of Defen's child. Just, man, I get the fear that she has in this, and just those tapes that he's watching, like you can just see kind of the fear in her eyes when he's really yelling at the kid and just trying to force them on the ride because, they have to enjoy it. He's kind of not accepting things as they are, but he's making them live out his fantasy, so to speak.
Right. And the fact that where he's watching it too, like he's in the living room of a house he's not allowed to be in, and like reminiscing, and it's like everything about that situation's funky.
Yeah. And again, you kind of get a backstory from the police when they're asking, okay, but why do you have a restraining order against him? And it's like, well, the lawyer said that we should do that, it'd be more advantageous, but he's never hit me. He's never been violent to me or anything like that. So again, it seems like another way that Defense has kind of been screwed over by the system by doing what he's supposed to do, but the other lawyer's doing what they're supposed to do. They're trying to get the most for their client. They're trying to get them away from this person who is controlling.
But
I don't know. It's just interesting. You can understand why he's in that position, but I don't know that you're supposed to agree with him.
Right. You're not supposed to agree with him because the movie does a pretty good job of letting you know that he doesn't exactly handle things well.
That's true.
Yeah,
like we're not supposed to shoot up a McDonald's if we don't get our
Hey,
lunch.
it was a whammy
3 minutes late.
burger. We all get upset when we don't get our Womlet or whatever it was called. But yeah, like even with his job too, they kind of explain, like since the Cold War is kind of settled, we don't need as many missiles made. So even though he went to school and he learned this particular skill and it was in need, we don't need it anymore. So he's just kind of kicked to the curb. It sounds like he, as he is saying in his monologue, like he did everything he was supposed to do. He didn't ask questions, yet he's left behind.
Yeah.
No, I can totally see the hopelessness of that situation, but just I don't know, the extremities to which he goes to.
Another thing that I find is still very relevant because you're hearing that a lot nowadays from people who said that I did everything they told me to do. I went to college, I did this and that, and I can't get a job.
And I will add
it's just gonna
this.
get worse too.
I
mean, they didn't have the threat of AI for this.
Yeah.
This is why I thought it was about fairness, because I was like, yeah, he did everything right, but life effed him over regardless.
Right,
So,
but so like society is different now. It's fair for different reasons now. He to no fault of his own, things have changed. He's adapted to something from 20 years ago, but now things are different. And whatever the current generation is, whether it be the minutia of pricing in a store or what.
Yeah.
But,
well, like every one of the incidents, every one of those like vignettes that we kind of get to see, like he wants retro pricing, he wants exception to the rule because it's after the clock, he wants the construction to stop, he wants the people to not have barbed wire on their fences because somebody breaking in could get hurt. I'm trying to think what the other one was, but
I'm trying to remember this.
It doesn't necessarily feel like fairness. He wants it his way, which seems like what he was doing with his kid and with his wife, and that's one of the reasons why they left.
Can you remind me about the drive-by shooting where they tried?
Oh, yeah. So he steals the baseball bat from the store clerk after paying his retro prices for it. He has the baseball bat. He happens to walk into gang territory, and because he's in gang territory, they pull out the butterfly knife. But he has, already exchanged for the bat, so now he gets a new knife to go on with his future adventures. And then because he beat them up with the bat, they try to do a drive-by on him, and sadly take out everybody else.
And then he takes their guns.
Yeah.
Gym bag full.
All right, now I remember.
So, do you want to add more, or we pass the mic to SuperBald?
Oh, please. I'm
I think
sorry.
definitely pass the mic. I'm sorry. I feel like
Yep.
I've taken up most of the mic, SuperBald. Yeah.
No worries, man. No worries. I'm new to all this, so I don't mind listening in and seeing how it's done. I think I don't know if this was the intention at the time, because I don't think this was really something that was talked about. But there's a lot of I find there's a lot of like toxic masculinity in this movie as well.
sure.
Especially from the main character, because he's
Hmm.
very sort of stuck in like a 1950s, 1960s type of mentality. I'm the head of the household, and
Hmm.
I'm I'm the breadwinner, and this is how my things are supposed to go. You have to listen to me. I'm the head of the household. And also very his social views also very stuck in like that past there. Um, Especially with his job as a defense, working for a defense contractor. And you see that a lot as well within the police department. Like basically the boss telling Pendergrass that you're basically calling him a quote unquote pussy because after he had been. We found out later that wasn't the real reason, but the reason he was working a desk job rather than being out on the beat was because he had been wounded. We later find it's more because it was because of his wife.
Yeah.
But still, there's
Definitely
that.
implied he's not man enough to
Yeah,
just take it.
exactly.
But he's the counter to defense because he's adapting his lifestyle to his wife.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, it kind of depends. So
Well,
I've heard a bunch of different like kind of takes on this, and one take is all the characters are essentially like living lies in this, where Pendergrass is pretending that this is what he wants, but really he's living out what his wife wants. Defense is pretending he has a job, but really he's kind of living his own fantasy world. A lot of people aren't being true to themselves in this one. I think a lot of that does kind of come from that kind of toxic
what
masculinity.
is the Pendergrass? What's his wife? What's her lie?
So I guess it's that he also wants it, that, he's done being a cop, but he's not living for himself. He's not making these choices.
Uh-huh.
He's moving to Havasu, but none of this is his choice. It's all, kind of her fantasy that he is allowing to happen. But a lot of the people aren't being true to themselves. So it's kind of one of the ways that I'd seen it interpreted, and I could see that. That's not necessarily my interpretation when I first saw the film, but I can see it. A lot of the characters aren't necessarily being true. They are kind of living a lie or putting on a mask of some kind.
Yeah, well, you see that with Defen's mother as well. Like, in her mind, he's he's a good little boy, even though she's clearly terrified of him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I thought that performance too, just the mother, when she mentions, like just how silent he is and how scary it is that he's just shoveling in it, and like how inhuman he is. I don't know. That really sticks with me. There's some performances in this that just really stand out. Also, the Nazi dude from that surplus, whatever store, that I don't know. That is one of the classic, like, creepiest characters I've ever seen. I don't know how that dude, I guess it's Frederick Forrest. I don't know how he wasn't in more stuff. Just that is a very iconic and scary character.
He was in Apocalypse Now. He played what was the chef? I can't remember his name there.
He's also in 21
J.
Jump
Chef
Street.
Hicks, apparently. And he was also in Valley Girl, but sadly, it doesn't look like he was in a ton of things. But man, that dude, he was very believable and very scary. Just there's so many kind of bit parts in this that really stand out. I've heard some people kind of say that they're more caricatures and they're over the top, but I don't know. I really find this the least caricature of any of Schumacher's films, but I don't know. Maybe I'm putting it on a different level because it's Schumacher, but I don't know. It to me, it's kind of the most grounded Schumacher one.
It might have been for the time, but America has retroactively become a lot of caricatures of.
Yeah, I was about to say something like that, that dude in the surplus store kind of reminds me a lot of the MAGA people we're seeing, especially the more extreme ones.
Mhm.
Um,
For
yeah,
sure.
so maybe
And,
it was
defense has part of that too.
maybe it was a caricature at the time, but
Right.
But it seems prescient. Same thing with like when he's talking to the Korean store owner and he keeps talking about like how much things should be or whatever. It does seem like it is, it harkens to that whole MAGA idea of this greater time.
yeah,
I can
make
definitely see that
America
with a few of
great
these
again.
Oh, yeah.
But their interpretation of America is through like very rose-colored glasses. They forget all the bad things about the past
Mhm.
and just remember the good ones. Or also they forget that the past wasn't necessarily great for everybody.
Right.
In the 50s, 60s, it wasn't necessarily that great if you were a black person or gay or
Yeah. Plus,
or woman or
the cost of things in the store is extravagant to him because he doesn't have a job. Like when he says this costs whatever, and I'm the one robbing you. Like, well, if you were working, it wouldn't be that big of an inconvenience.
That's true.
Well, and it's all to get a quarter so that he can harass his wife again too. So it's,
Yeah.
it's not like he's doing it out of principle.
The way you framed it.
It is kind of interesting. Like throughout the film, Defense is slowly kind of shedding the things that kind of connect him to society. Like he leaves his car in the middle of traffic. Eventually, he gives up his briefcase to the homeless person. Eventually, he loses his shoes, then his entire ensemble. Like the working man get up. He then becomes more of like a G.I. Joe type character, or at least his dressing. I don't know. There's little things like that just I love the way this film kind of does it a little bit subtly, which is weird for a Schumacher film again.
He literally evolves into definitively the villain of the movie.
Yeah.
And like Gray was saying, he's slowly accumulating things, leveling up in a way. It's like it's a gradual progression.
Do you want to add more SuperBald?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of things I did enjoy about this movie. The music, the humor, that was all great. And the characters, even if we don't spend that much time with them, they are enjoyable. And again, I was hooked from start to finish. And I thought the ending was perfect. The guy realizes he's the bad guy and then gets shot. Like, yeah, that's sad, but like, how else can it end? Him in jail? I don't know. I thought it was a solid movie, so thank you a lot, Gray, for suggesting the movie. I'm wondering if any of you would like to add more on that. I guess not.
No, just that I enjoyed it. I had seen it before, but it had been so long and I didn't really remember much of it. And as I said, I saw that when I was a teenager, so a lot of the themes just went over my head. But I really enjoyed it, and it's still very, very relevant.
Yeah. And I really like the way that they chose to end it, where he does kind of go out with. It looks like at some point he is kind of able to piece things together and realize like there is a possible solution where he's not getting out of this, but he could in a way provide for his family in a way that he's not able to right now. It is interesting, but it kind of makes me wonder when he kind of hatched the plan that there is insurance money if he gets taken out. I don't know, when I'm thinking of like other vigilante movies, this one hits a little different. Like I don't know, I'm thinking like Taxi Driver or like Joker or basically any of those that Joker aped, like what is it, King of Comedy, and there's like 3 other ones. I don't know, this just feels like it has more levels to it than a lot of those other ones.
What?
So yeah,
when- sorry.
sorry, go right ahead.
When in the movie does he have his cracked glasses?
So it happens when he's at the surplus store when the guy
that
is
late.
cuffing
Yeah, when he
him and
when
kinda
he
kicks
throws
his
him to
leg
the
out.
floor, he hits his glasses on the counter or something.
Okay, so that's kind
Yeah.
of late. I was going to say a nice
But-
way to show you that his view of things is
Broke
Well,
him.
directly after
Right.
that is when he calls his wife and says that he's at the point of no return or beyond the point of no return. So, you know, his cracked lens does definitely, he is already beyond that point. He has taken out the surplus guy. So it kind of makes sense. And again, thematically, that works. That's something that definitely went over my head upon first viewing. A lot of this did. I think I saw it when I was a kid, like way too young. But man, this film has just like affected me. Like I just remember being completely afraid of Frederick Forrest, the surplus store owner's character, when I was a kid. Like
F your freedom.
for some reason, it was like him and Large Marge from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. I don't know why. Those two scared the hell out of me. I couldn't tell you the connection, but that was the fears of my childhood. But yeah, like I don't know. Where do you think this stacks up compared to like some of the other vigilante movies?
It's up there. I mean, I had to check to see what my score was. I have a 4.5 out of 5. It's like everybody said. It's you could probably pump it out today, and it's still very relevant. You know, if movies can survive the test of time and still have some sort of relevance, what does that mean? Is the movie good or is society bad?
I'd say among the older vigilante movies, this is probably the one that is still the most relevant.
Right.
If you watch Taxi Driver, I mean, some things are still kind of relevant, but it's more like a relic of its time.
Mm-hmm.
It's more very much of like, you know, what New York City was in the 1970s.
It's matured a bit since then. It's not so slummy.
And there's another thing I did thought about. It was kind of sad when the gift he wanted to give his daughter broke, and it's like, okay, it's sad.
Yeah,
he wanted to give that gift. The gift got broken.
I mean, it's still some dude who has a restraining order who's kind of stalking the, mother. So yeah, I mean, it'd be great if he had a gift in hand, but I don't know if that would have changed like a lot of the situation. But he had a gift. You're right.
Yeah, that was the intention,
I guess the other part that I didn't kind of piece together when I saw it when I was a kid was the guy who's now I forget what they call it, but he's protesting the bank. He's financially
not financially viable.
He's not financially viable. I did not realize that he was practically wearing the exact same outfit as Defense.
Yeah.
Like he was basically wearing like the exact same costume, the costume of the working man. That went completely over my head, like on the first bunch of viewings of it. I didn't realize just how much that kind of worked with it. But I don't know. When Multi was saying that essentially like the surplus store owner guy is the exact same as Defense, I think there's a lot that he isn't the same. Like it doesn't seem like a lot of this is racially motivated. Just he has his own warped sense of justice and what he wants, and everyone kind of has to bend to his will. But I don't know. I didn't get that it's like a racial thing where you totally get that. And not only racial thing, but he also is definitely homophobic. The surplus store guy. He just seems to be all around a horrible guy where Defends I mean, he's not a great guy, but I don't see those same qualities. I think I would stack him on a different tier than that surplus store guy, but similar in ways.
I think the way you brought up the leveling up like a video game, each level, so to speak, there's two sides to a story, and you the audience kind of are left to wonder, all right, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy in this situation. And it's a little gray and fuzzy in the beginning, because like how many people have been 2 minutes late for a Big Mac or whatever, and just that sucks. You can understand less and less. And I think the last one with the sports store owner, like the only reason that you can see someone worse than defense is when they're just so overtly horrible. And then I think that's the last thing that happens before the showdown with the police officer, with Pendergast. And at that point, I mean, he literally says, "So I'm the bad guy." So that final matchup is, good versus bad, and however prevalent the moral grayness is in the beginning, it's not there by the end. I'm actually curious to know, when did the gift break as well?
The surplus store guy.
So everything
found it
happens
in his
there.
bag, and
Yeah.
pretty
So
much.
his
but
view of the
he
world
calls
is
it
cracked?
a gay slur. He
more
again
F
is like
shit.
pointing to his homophobia
Yep.
because why would he have this snow globe? Again, it's more of his hatred that kind of
I
gets
think
thrown on him.
it's more symbolism too. So his view of the world gets cracked with his literal glasses, and his toy, or the gift for his daughter, which is a snow globe, a world contained, it gets broken, and his idea of his world gets shattered.
Well, did you notice the song that the snow globe plays? It's "London Bridge is Falling Down."
Oh,
You're right.
Oh,
So many fun things that they're adding in there.
there's a lot of subtlety in this movie,
Mm.
like a lot of subtle clues. Like you said, the guy in front of the bank is wearing the same suit. It's a lot of stuff that you may not pick up on the first viewing. So it's a movie that also is, you can appreciate on repeat viewings. You'll notice things that you didn't notice before.
yeah.
For
very,
sure.
very
And this is just
anti-
I think I talk about everyone's performance except for Michael Douglas, but man, this is just iconic. Like,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
it is an amazing performance. I do kind of wish that he got a little bit more acclaim, but this was kind of a controversial film when it was released. A lot of people have kind of interpreted this in different ways, but yeah, it's been kind of controversial since it was released, and he kind of got snubbed on this, but he just completely is that character. Like, it is just it's a wonderful take on such a messed up man, essentially. I love it. It's a great performance. Both him and Pendergast. I absolutely love Robert Duvall's take on this, kind of different version. The yin to defense yang, if you will.
Yeah. So what would be your grade out of 10 for Falling Down?
I would. That's a good question. I'm kind of stuck between, if we're going out of 10, either a 9 or a 9.5. I guess since I usually go to the 5 scale, like Letterbox or whatever, I like half points, so I'll go 4.5. So 9 out of 10.
Okay. What about you, Charles?
same 4.5 or 9 out of 10.
What about you, SuperBald?
Definite 9 out of 10. And I'm gonna go close the blinds to my picture window because I look like I'm slowly disappearing.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And
What about you,
when it
sir?
comes to me, that's a 9.9 out of 10 because it's above.
You're only
the other-
taking off 0.1 because he didn't know. Oh, sorry, Charles. The other part that I forgot to tell you is Multi did have one issue with it. It's
Oh.
that the kid knew how to use the rocket launcher.
Yeah.
So that got 0.1 off for Multi.
Yeah. Because this is the thing that shows laugh is not up on that one. So yeah, I enjoyed
It's
that.
become a
movie.
trope since then that,
Yeah.
like now, like even Alien Romulus just did that recently where it's like, well, how do you know how this gun works? It's like, yeah, I played video games. Yeah, apparently this kid learned from the TV, but it is 3 simple things. You pull the pin, you extend the tube, and then you just point it at what you want and pull the trigger.
Well, the other
So-
thing is he's obsolete at his job. He works in defense, and a kid literally knows how to do something with weapons.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's another thing on he's
Yeah.
out of touch.
Out of the
or-
loop.
Yeah,
Out of the loop.
obsolete.
So, are we ready to cover True Romance now?
Sure.
Yes, we are. Why did you
Uh,
choose that, Grey?
So I just made a list of like 20 movies that I really like that I'd like to see again. I didn't expect that you would choose two of them from '93 and put them in the same week, but fair enough. It's fun. Not only is this one also from '93, but so was Falling Down. It was a good year for film. But this True Romance, it just has so many good actors in it and so many little bit parts. My God, like Brad Pitt as Floyd is just, you could have that as just such a throwaway character, but man, it is such a memorable little bit. And then, every one of the henchmen from James Gandolfini to I can't remember his name, but dude is in everything, and he plays the Italian guy in this one where he doesn't speak English. But man, I love every one of the henchmen. They just really kind of speak to me. Just every character in this, I just think they're amazing performances. But yeah, it is an odd film. I guess Tarantino wrote 3 different films that were supposed to be his first film that he was supposed to write and direct. And so it was this one, Natural Born Killers, and Reservoir Dogs. And he had already gotten the funding to do Reservoir Dogs, so he was perfectly fine kind of selling off this script to Tony Scott, and then selling off the other one to now I'm forgetting who did Natural Born Killers.
Oliver Stone.
Stone, thank you. I like this a lot more than Stone's take on Tarantino's writing, which is weird because I guess Natural Born Killers was supposed to be kind of a movie within the movie, so it's interesting. And then he extended that to a full screenplay, which I don't know.
But I think Tarantino it disavowed Natural Born Killers. Like he wanted his name taken off of it because he didn't like what Stone did with it.
I kind of agree with that. I think out of anything that Tarantino's kind of penned, Natural Born Killers would be my least favorite. But I don't know. It's kind of a toss up between this and From Dusk Till Dawn as to my favorite Quentin Tarantino penned one that he didn't actually direct himself. Just this is such an interesting take on it. I think Tony Scott had a really interesting vision on what this could be, and I don't know. I'd have to think that if Tarantino did this, it would be completely different. I don't know. It doesn't have that kind of Tarantino look to everything. I kind of love the way that Tony Scott
visual style, which is not present in this movie.
Yeah,
the script is.
Well, you still get the dialogue.
Script is completely Tarantino. I mean,
yes,
pulp culture references and all. The type of dialogue and all that. But visually, it's not. It doesn't look like a Tarantino movie.
Yeah, and then just the way that he kind of goes about the story, it is very fiction-esque, very fantasy-like. That just your boss apparently hires a prostitute to, pretend to run into you, and then she ends up falling in love that first night. I don't know. That does seem very fantastical. And then we got to follow Christian Slater actually, deciding that he's going to exact his revenge or give her resignation letter to her boss, so to speak. I don't know. It is kind of interesting. And then the way that plays out, where all of a sudden, okay, so this comic book store nerd is just suddenly a badass who can take out like an entire squad of, drug dealers. It's interesting. It is very fantastical, but I don't know. It's kind of like a diamond in the rough to me. I really like what ends up on this in this film, but it definitely doesn't feel like it's grounded in a certain reality that some of the other Tarantino ones are. Multi, as kind of the first time viewing this, how did this one hit you? What was your kind of overall take on this?
I liked it even more than Falling Down. I was entertained from start to finish. I had no issue whatsoever with this movie. I liked it, and I was surprised because just by the title, I was like, "Oh, rom-com," but not really. People die left and right, Maybe that's a factor why it's very flashy, and I like flashy toys. It's fun. It's just things blow up. maybe there's less substance to this, but it's still like the kind of stuff I enjoy. So there's a few things I didn't mark down. The main character being unhinged was always very entertaining. Like you think the pimp is beating him down, but then he pulls up a gun and poof, he reversed the table. Issue solved. He shot the pimp. But the other thing that was very funny is that moment in the movie where it highlights how the main character is kind of stupid. He thought that would be easy to sell off substance to remain YouTube friendly. That was hilarious. I was like, yeah, only a stupid person would think it's easy to just sell off something. It's
So what? You're just gonna leave the suitcase full of substance?
You're right. But that was very entertaining, and the music was fun, and my notes are just big, so I won't go into each single thing. But the cops using the Hollywood guy to trap the other guy, that was entertaining. So I call everyone guys because I have fish memory. I can't remember any names, but the characters were entertaining.
Is the one that you're talking about Bronson Pinchot?
Yeah.
Yes, from Perfect Strangers.
Yeah, and I feel like the plot itself made sense because it was people talking to others that kind of solved the case. Where this is where the main character is. This is where the suitcase is with the substance. Everything just feel very well made with this movie, and yeah, I adore it. Thank you for suggesting that.
Just so many iconic scenes and characters in this one, man. Like the one that kind of always gets brought up is the Dennis Hopper, Christopher Walken scene, but just man, the kind of Sicilian monologue. I don't know. It has really memorable characters, even like the bit parts, like Brad Pitt. Like I shouldn't remember the stoner roommate's name, but Floyd really kind of stands out to me, the way that he kind of just is willing to tell henchmen wherever they're going and where they're storing their goods and everything. Man, and then the henchman alone, like Gandolfini, this is one of my favorite roles that he's been in. Just as bit part as it is, I feel like I understand what the character wants. It's like, oh, okay, so he's looking for violence, he's looking for pain, like he's actually up for it when she wants to fight him, and it's like, okay, let's do this. He could have taken her out easily, but no, he wants to actually kind of struggle with her. Same thing for like the cops in this. I think Tom Sizemore and Chris Penn are just like amazing as these, they seem like perhaps they're drugged out as well, but man, they're more than willing to put Balky in the line of fire. Like they just don't care. They're looking at getting these bigger fish. I don't know. Every part in this just seems. One thing that Tarantino has a real good command over is kind of creating characters that they feel like real characters. Man, I love Rappaport's version in this, and then just Val Kilmer as Clarence's kind of alter ego when he's looking in the mirror. I dig that. So many things about this, and Patricia Arquette as well as Mama. Just man, every one of these performances is just over the top. And Gary Oldman, I could not imagine him playing this character. The pimp drug dealer with
he was amazing.
The facial scars and the dreads, and then the amazing accent. Like, just that is. I had to really be told that is Gary Oldman. I just didn't believe it. He just kind of morphs into this character, but. Man, I love everyone in this, including Saul Rubinek, who plays, the big producer who's going to make the buy. I've seen that dude in like a million things, but this is like what that guy was made for, is kind of this type of sleazy character. I really love every one of the performances in this. It's just such a character piece. And I think Tony Scott's approach to it, it just perfect marriage. I really like what this film ended up being.
And That's funny. I thought the humor was great, and the main character was so talented at bullshitting his way out of anything. Uh, that was kind of fun to see, and considering it's 1993, maybe it's one of the first few times in movies, or maybe that's me not knowing that many old movies, but maybe that's one of the first few times where the guy is really smart with words to really like solve stuff, and he always has the right thing to say, and it makes sense with the character. um and it's funny because I've just seen Django Unchained recently, and I could see similar trait with one of the characters in that other movie. Bullshitting your way out of anything. That's just really cool. And the music, I think the music was really solid with True Romance. Um, yeah, and you said it, the performance of the actors, I liked it. Um, and the full chaos by the end when it's a big shout out where everyone shoot each other, it was crazy. I think that was one of my favorite parts of the movie. Um, so yeah, Bald, do you want to add something on that? Well, actually, expand on what did you think of True Romance?
This is I rewatched it back to back yesterday with Falling Down. I had not seen it in about, I'd say, at least 10, 12 years. And I actually didn't remember anything about it, so it was almost like watching a new movie for me. And I quite really enjoyed it. But as Gray was saying, you have to take it as a sort of a fantasy. The word that came to me while I was watching was sort of cartoony. A lot of it was sort
Yeah.
of cartoony to me, but because none of it is realistic at all. But the characters are just so great, so well casted, and uh, like exactly Saul Rubinek, as Gary was saying. I love that actor. I've seen him in a lot of things, and he is great at playing like sort of like those sleazy type of characters. One of his characters that I really loved was one time he appeared on Star Trek: The Next Generation playing this collector who stole data. But anyways, back to
Oh,
this
yeah.
movie. Yeah, and as Malty was saying about Christian Slater, he's sort of like the perfect bullshit artist. He always has the right thing to say, but he's like all bullshit artists. He's way in over his head. Yeah.
And I think he kind of plays it down a little bit in this. Like, he does come off a little bit more schlubby than the traditional Christian Slater, because that dude was like a movie star by this time, and he does kind of come off as like a nerd kind of in everyone in this. So I do like that.
Younger people might not realize this, but early 90s, Christian Slater was a huge star.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just was able to kind of believe it, where, the average comic book nerd is not going to be Christian Slater. It's going to be a little bit more like, the everyman, where, he's obviously
someone who
looks
more like me than Christian Slater.
Yeah, I mean, more like all of us, really.
Yeah.
None of us have the Christian Slater thing going, except for maybe Charles. But it's I don't know. There's just so many amazing performances in this. Just the one scene, again, the Sicilian monologue, man, you see Dennis Hopper just getting tortured, and he knows what's going to happen. So you just see him going all in, where, what he's going to do is just offend this guy and get it over with. He's not going to let this drag out, and he's not going to be the one to rat out his kid. Although, sadly, the address is on the fridge within eye shot of them. So it doesn't necessarily work out that way, but man, just the layers and the tone that's going on between like him and Walken, that scene is kind of amazing, which I guess it's a weird story on how Tarantino wrote that particular scene. I guess he had like a Sicilian roommate who was his friend, and apparently he basically gave him that monologue, and then realized like that would be a great scene. So I don't know. Tarantino's a weird guy, but man, he does come up with kind of some amazing dialogue. That one is definitely one that kind of sticks with you. But the layers that both Dennis Hopper and Walken are able to kind of put into that scene. It's just, that's so iconic. It's really kind of hard to forget somebody trying to push someone that far. And man, it seems successful, but just the way that kind of Walken is playing it off and then is just, laughing it up. But then it ends with him saying, like, I haven't actually killed anyone since 1984. He forced me to do it. Like, man, that just works on so many levels for me. Just very iconic. I don't know, Multi, was that one over the top for you? It does seem a little, with today's standards, perhaps a little crude.
I was all in with it, with every moment of the movie. And I think that was to make it funny. And again, over the top was fine by me. And I will say that I don't think people have the creativity to make such movies today. And that's part of the charm of it. And I will also say that it's probably my favorite movie that are from before the 2000s. And as of right now on my letterbox, there's 26 I did register. I think I've seen a bit more than this, but the ones I did register, that was my favorite one before the 2000. So again, thank you a lot for recommending this. And I placed it with Falling Down because it's the same year, It looks pretty. The 1993.
Well, fair enough. I mean, it was a good year for cinema, but yeah, I guess I hadn't thought of ranking them by the same year. But yeah, a lot of them from this list that I gave you were ones that I really love. So I hope you get to experience some of these older films, as you're calling them. But you don't have to knock all the older films. Some of them are amazing.
Yeah, that's true. That's the perfect example. True Romance and Falling Down were two great movies. So I'm wondering if any of you would like to add more. I guess not. Oh.
So you don't have anything that you feel like is an issue with this, where like the rocket launcher from Falling Down, that's where you lost 1 point? Okay.
Yeah.
No issue with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
True Romance. I was just hooked, and I didn't find any issues. And like we've seen other over the top movies, Triple R, that was over the top. Two guys like using double guns, and that's not the first over the top thing. Like, I mean, Triple R had people fighting tigers.
Yeah, it's epic. It's its own thing. Yeah, that's a fantasy as well, but definitely not as grounded as this. Sadly, as fantastical as this one is, it is definitely more grounded than RRR. But that's a more recent flick.
Yeah. So I guess we are into the grades for this. I will give a 10 out of 10. Perfect movie for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'd like to know where you kind of stack it up with the other Tarantino ones, because I got a feeling you're not giving those perfect 10s. But for me, I don't know. I think it might be 4 out of 5 or 8 out of 10. I really like it. I think it's a strong film. I think there's a lot of scenes that are really great, but I feel like it could be improved, and I feel like Tarantino does in some future ones. I think adding the Tarantino visuals and kind of his style to it just kind of brings it over the top for me. So yeah, I think for this one, I'd probably go an 8 out of 10.
Okay, what about you, SuperBald?
To me, it would be about. I mean, I did really enjoy it. It's a great film, but to me, it would be 7.5 or 8. There's not overall. It's a good movie, but there's a couple of aspects about it I found didn't age well. But yeah, 7.5.
Well, thank you for sharing. I'm wondering if Charles is back with us. Is Charles?
I'm not thinking
back?
so. Although sometimes when I start answering for him, he magically shows up. So I was hoping that would happen. Okay, it didn't happen. But Yeah, man, I love all the actors in this. It just feels like everyone is like supposed to be the roles that they're in.
That's
Uh,
one thing. This
but,
movie
like,
is superbly casted.
it is.
Probably one of the best casted movies ever. Like everybody is just perfect for the role they were casted for.
I couldn't agree more. It's just, yeah, everyone is exactly who they should be in this, and
Like
I absolutely love it.
the small roles where you only see them for like a couple of minutes. Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt was actually a big star when this came out too. So this, I don't know if he did this as a favor to Tony Scott or whatever, but he was perfect for the role he played.
He was.
Mm.
Yeah, he just plays Floyd like perfectly.
Mm.
And just, yeah, I think we've covered almost everybody else, but every one of the henchmen is just perfect too. Just exactly where I'd want them to be in this one. Even some of the, I guess I don't know exactly who she played, but even some of the bit parts, like you were saying, are just like perfect. Just, yeah, this could be one of my favorite Tarantino written castings, but yeah, still not quite my favorite Tarantino film.
I'm looking forward to see more Tarantino movies after watching True Romance. And yeah, so I guess now we can move on to the outro. Do you plan on watching any new releases, Grey, this Friday or in the coming week?
I just saw Beetlejuice yesterday. I don't know if there's too much coming out this weekend. Next week, I think the Halle Berry one, whatever that's called. Now I'm completely blanking on it. Where like her and her kids are in a cabin and it's post-apocalyptic. I think I'll be seeing that one. I can't think of anything that's coming out this particular weekend other than I guess Matt Walsh's movie, but I'm not chomping at the bit to go see that one.
We got Speak No Evil.
Is that one this weekend? Okay, yes,
Yeah.
I will be seeing that.
Me too. And there's another movie I'm kind of intrigued about, Front Room. That was last week, but I didn't have time to watch it. Did you see the trailer for that one?
I didn't. No, I haven't heard anything about that one.
That sounds like a horror flick. Kind of reminded me of Last Night in Soho with the kind of premise of weird people living in the house. So I'm looking forward. So look into it maybe when you got free time. I think it came out Friday the 6th. I think the name is
Okay.
Front Room or Front Door. I can't remember the exact title of the movie. I think it's Front Room. I'm almost
I don't
sure.
think I've heard of that at all. So yeah, I'll be looking into it, man.
Maybe it's just a Canada release. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know.
Some of those are amazing. I really dug Anatomy of a Fall and Red Room. So yeah, I'm digging some of those French Canadian ones.
Yeah. So I guess it's time to plug stuff. Grey, what do you have going on your end of the internet?
Not a ton. I should be actually doing stuff, but yeah, I find a reason not to. But if you do like what's going on here, you probably want to go over to Charles's channel. That's YouTube at Williscredia. Every Monday, usually Mondays, sometimes other days, he does show business, where kind of goes over the box office, any sort of movie news. We kind of go over some reviews of some recent ones that we've seen. So if that sounds fun to you, go over to YouTube at Williscredia and ring the bell. You'll know what day it is, but it's usually Mondays, sometimes other days. That's about all I got going on. What about you, SuperBald? Do you have anything going on your side of the internet?
Nope. No. This is all very new to me. Malty and I sort of met on a fluke. He had posted something on a group on Facebook. Some other friends of mine have a French language movie podcast, and we got to talking. He invited me on, but this is all very much new to me. I'm not all that active on the internet.
I think
Sadly,
you're
I hope to be more active in the future. Maybe start some other projects, but at the moment,
Well,
no.
yeah.
I'm just an old man.
That's fine.
I mean, we
need
all
that.
But thanks for joining us on this, and thanks for giving us your insight. This was really awesome to hear kind of a different take on it as well. So yeah, we really appreciate you kind of joining with us. I'm glad you did kind of meet up with Multi.
Mhm.
What
So,
about you,
yeah.
Balti? You got
Glad to be
anything
here.
going on?
Well, not that much is happening exactly this week. Maybe a few gaming streams. Next Friday I will see Speak No Evil and the other movie I told you about like a few seconds ago. I plan on making several videos like man September 20th. It's actually next Friday, not this Friday, but the other Friday. It's a crazy day. There's like 5 movies I want to see, and I think some of them I will go see them like Saturday or so. But there's a lot of new things. The Substance, A Different Man. Um,
Substance looks really interesting to me. I would like to see what Demi Moore is kind of doing with that. Kind of a weird body horror thing. I definitely want to see that one.
yeah, I'm kind of worried a bit because I heard it's a feminist movie. Look, I will sound weird, but sometimes when you sell off a movie like that, it's kind of a turn off. Look,
It really depends. Like I've definitely heard Barbie kind of explained that way, and if you want to look at it with that lens, you can. I think that's just one interpretation of it. So I'm hoping it's kind of the same thing that people can interpret it that way. But it is about beauty and age, and possibly like changing yourself. So it does feel like that could fit into some feminist ideology, if you will. So I'm still intrigued, but fair enough. I get your reticence.
yeah, I'm waiting to see. I hope it will be great, and I'm wrong. um, what else? There's Transformer One as well. That one I seen the trailer. I'm like, that that sounds like a bad movie that will be fun to roast on Saturday. Because the following Saturday there's a mainstream movie reviews episode covering Transformer, 2 Transformers from Michael Bay, the first two, the 2007 Transformer and the 2009 Transformer, and Transformer One that will come out Friday. Um, and there's also the movie you mentioned with Halle Berry, Don't Let Go. And I will say that one get me worried a bit. Maybe it will be another bad movie, like we got that kind of bad movie sometime in the fall. So yeah, a lot of videos are cooking. The Acolyte video will be ready at some point. I will ask again to Charles if he wants to guest in it. If he doesn't want to, then the video is kind of ready. Just
I'm
the editing
feeling
room.
he's talked about the Acolyte more than he wants to, but I could be wrong.
That's the vibe I was getting. So that's why I'm like, maybe I will finish it without him. But yeah, also a Walking Dead video once you and DC are done watching the show. I'm waiting for the both of you. um Anyway, I'm looking forward for next week on the RedBlue podcast. We will talk about Moonraker, a classic, and For Your Eyes Only. And I did a podcast Sunday, like almost 2 weeks ago. Not this Sunday, the previous Sunday. I did a podcast with a fellow content creator that's more into gaming than me, but he also likes cinema based on the discussion we had backstage. And it was like, yeah, I like James Bond movies. So I'm like, oh, cool. We cover James Bond movies, so maybe we will have 2 consoles too late next week joining us to talk about 2 James Bond movies. Looking forward to talk about that. And yeah, I'm wondering if any of you would like to add something before we end this.
Just not looking forward to Moonraker as much, but fair enough.
Wait, you didn't like Moonraker? Okay.
It's not that I
Okay.
don't like it. It's not my favorite Bond.
Okay. Yeah, I'm excited about that week. And we are out.